Sometimes in life, we lose ourselves. We chase the world, the people, the love, the success, and yet, our hearts remain empty. She smiled in front of everyone, but inside, she was breaking. Nothing made sense, until one day she turned back to the one who never left Alala. That was the moment her heart finally found peace. When a person begins to chase the world, the heart is often fooled into believing that happiness is hidden in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next possession. You see people smiling with new cars, new homes, new clothes, and you start to think that maybe, just maybe, if you could get there too, your heart would finally rest. So, she ran after it. She scrolled endlessly, comparing her life to others. She pushed herself to please people who didn't even notice her. She gave her energy, her time, and her heart to a world that only takes and never truly gives back. But every night, when the lights were off and the phone was silent, the emptiness screamed louder than ever. Chasing the world is like drinking salty water to quench your thirst. For a moment, it feels like it might help. You get that promotion, you buy that new thing, you get that attention you were craving, and it feels like a spark. But then the heart whispers, "Is this all?" And suddenly the joy vanishes, leaving you even thirstier than before. She realized that no matter how hard she tried, no matter how many people she impressed, something was missing. It was a hunger that food couldn't feed, a loneliness that company couldn't cure. The world is a marriage. You run towards it thinking it will satisfy you, but as soon as you arrive, it shifts further away. She thought happiness was in having people love her. Yet the more she tried to hold on to them, the more she felt them slipping away. She thought peace was in achieving everything society told her to. Yet every achievement felt hollow the moment it was reached. Her heart was begging for something deeper, something lasting, something that wouldn't disappear when people walked away or when life didn't go her way. She began to notice how temporary everything was. The world was constantly moving, constantly changing, and every time she tried to hold on to it, it slipped through her fingers. Even the moments of joy she did experience were fleeting. They lasted minutes, maybe days, and then life reminded her again how fragile it all was. That is the reality of chasing the world. It promises so much but delivers so little. It can give you comfort for your body, but it cannot give rest to your soul. It can keep you distracted, but it cannot keep you fulfilled. Deep down, she knew she was running in circles, exhausted, chasing shadows that would never embrace her. And that's when she started to feel that her heart was not created for this endless race after the world. Because the more she ran, the more she felt lost inside, and the more the emptiness grew. Allah never leaves you, even when you forget Him. Life can take you through valleys of darkness where you feel completely abandoned. She thought she was alone. She thought no one saw her pain. No one understood her silent tears. No one cared about the chaos happening inside her heart. She spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if her existence even mattered. But in those moments of silent despair, her heart still beat by His command. Her lungs still filled with air gifted by Him. Her eyes still open to morning she didn't even ask for. Even when she had drifted far away, He was still carrying her through every single day. We forget Allah so easily when we get caught up in life. We skip our prayers thinking we'll get back to them later. We chase the approval of people, ignoring the one whose approval actually matters. We immerse ourselves in distractions, filling our time with noise so we don't have to feel the emptiness. Yet through it all, Allah remains. He never turns away. He never abandons His servant, even if that servant hasn't called on Him for months or even years. His mercy is so vast that the smallest whisper of, "Ya Allah," can open the doors of hope again. She started to realize that every little protection she had in life was not from the world, but from Him. The time she narrowly escaped harm, the people who showed up when she needed help most, the moments she could have broken completely but somehow held on. None of that was random. It was Allah watching over her silently, lovingly, patiently. Even in the times she was drowning in her own choices, He was guiding her back in ways she couldn't see. A delayed flight, a changed plan, a sudden inspiration to take a different path. All of it was His gentle way of saying, "I am still here, come back to me." We often measure love by how visible it is, but Allah's love is sometimes hidden in the details we overlook. In the sun rising every morning, in the heartbeat that never stops, in the friends who check on you at the perfect time, in the opportunities you didn't deserve but still received. She had overlooked these signs for so long, thinking she was forgotten, when in reality, she was being protected in ways she didn't even understand. Even the pain she felt was a mercy, because it was a nudge to remind her that this life isn't meant to be her ultimate comfort. Every step she took away from him was still on a path he allowed her to walk, patiently waiting for the moment she would turn around. And when she finally whispered his name again, after so long, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, the undeniable warmth of being seen, heard, and loved by the one who had never left her, even when she thought she was all alone. True peace comes from sincere connection with Allah. She spent years searching for peace in all the wrong places. She thought peace would come from being loved by people, from reaching her goals, from escaping the pain of her past. But every time she achieved what she thought would finally make her happy, it slipped through her fingers like sand. She would smile in photos, laugh in conversations, and yet, when the world went quiet, her heart still ached. It was restless, constantly wandering, constantly searching for something it couldn't name. She tried to fill the void with noise, with people, with entertainment, but the silence always returned, louder than before. The heart was created by Allah, and the heart only finds rest with Allah. This is why the world always feels temporary, why even the happiest moments fade too quickly, and why loneliness creeps in even when surrounded by people. She didn't realize it at first, but her soul was craving the one who created it. No person could give her what she was looking for, because peace is not a gift that comes from the creation, it is a gift that flows from the Creator to the one who remembers Him sincerely. The Quran says, "Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." She had read those words before, but now they began to sink into her heart like medicine after years of pain. When she finally sat alone and whispered his name, the world outside didn't change, but her world inside began to shift. It wasn't loud or dramatic, it was subtle and gentle. A feeling of being held, a feeling of finally exhaling after holding her breath for years. She realized that peace doesn't mean a life without problems. It means a heart that trusts Allah, no matter the problems. The storm might still rage outside, but the heart can be calm inside, because it knows who is in control. That calmness cannot be bought, cannot be faked, and cannot be taken away by people because it doesn't come from them. Slowly, her warmth should be, her connection to Allah became the anchor she had been searching for all along. Each prayer was no longer a ritual she rushed through, but a moment of refuge, where she poured her heart out to the one who always listens. For it should be each verse of Quran she recited felt like a light entering a room that had been dark for too long. Every sincere dua felt like a conversation with the only one who truly understood her without judgment, without conditions, without disappointment. That is when she realized that the world could offer comfort, but it could never offer the kind of peace that settles deep into the soul and makes it unshakable. That peace only lives in the heart of someone who has turned fully, sincerely, and desperately back to Allah, and once it touches you, nothing in this world can replace it. A pain and loss are reminders to return to Him. Life has a way of breaking you in places you never expected. She had dreams that shattered, relationships that ended, and moments where she felt the weight of the world pressing against her chest. At first, she thought pain was just cruelty, that loss was a punishment, that life was unfair and meaningless. But with time, she began to realize that every pain had a voice, and every loss was carrying a message. The message was simple but profound. Come back to the one who never leaves. Pain has a way of removing illusions, of making you see what truly matters, of stripping away the distractions that keep you from looking upward. When everything was going well, she hardly thought about Allah. The comfort of the world made it easy to forget who gave it. But the moment she lost something she thought she couldn't live without, her heart instinctively cried out, even if she hadn't prayed in months. That is the mercy hidden in pain. It softens hearts that have grown hard, it wakes up souls that have been sleeping. It reminds us that the world is temporary, and it is not the place of ultimate comfort. If life never broke us, we might never bow down sincerely. If everything stayed perfect, we might never seek the one who can truly heal. Loss teaches you that people can leave, money can disappear, and plans can collapse, but Allah remains. Every tear she cried was seen by Him. Every night she lay awake, feeling like her chest was too heavy to bear. He was closer to her than anyone else could be. Pain pushed her to the prayer mat not because she wanted the pain, but because she wanted relief, and relief only comes from the one who controls hearts. In that raw, desperate state, her dua was pure, unpolished, and real. She wasn't worried about perfect words, she just whispered, "Help me." And that whisper was more beloved to Allah than 1,000 empty rituals made in heedlessness. Over time, she started to notice how pain can polish a heart. It removes pride because it forces you to admit that you are not in control. It removes attachment to the world because it shows you how fragile everything is. It makes you value the moments of peace and joy in a way you never did before. Most importantly, it guides you back to the source of strength you had been ignoring. She realized that every hardship she went through was actually a bridge leading her away from the temporary comforts of this world and back toward the eternal comfort of Allah's closeness. And though she never would have asked for the pain, she began to see that without it, she might have remained lost, chasing a world that could never heal the emptiness she carried inside. Salah, dua, and Quran heal a broken soul. For so long, she searched for healing everywhere else. She looked for comfort in conversations, in distractions, in scrolling endlessly through her phone, in trying to keep herself busy enough to forget her pain. But the pain always came back, and the emptiness always whispered louder in the quiet moments. Nothing seemed to work, because nothing in this world was designed to heal a heart the way the words of Allah can. When she finally turned to Salah, it felt strange at first. Her body was praying, but her heart was heavy and scattered. Yet, with each sujood, something began to shift deep inside, something she couldn't explain. It was as if the weight she had been carrying alone was now being placed in the hands of the one who could actually lift it. Salah is not just a ritual, it is a lifeline for the soul. Every bow, every prostration, every whispered Allahu Akbar reminded her that she was not abandoned, that she was standing before the King of Kings, who knew her struggles better than she did. In sujood, with her forehead pressed to the ground, she felt more powerful than she ever did chasing the world, because in that moment, she was the closest she could be to Allah. That closeness began to stitch together the pieces of her heart that she thought were permanently broken. Then came dua, the private conversations that no one else could hear. At first, she didn't know what to say. She just sat with tears in her eyes and whispered, "Ya Allah, I'm lost." And that was enough. Dua doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be sincere. Every time she raised her hands, she felt a release, as if she was finally letting go of the burdens she had tried to carry alone for too long. Dua reminded her that she didn't have to be strong all the time because her strength was in admitting her weakness to the one who is always strong. And then the Quran became her companion. At first, she read slowly, stumbling over words, but each verse felt like it was speaking directly to her heart. Some verses felt like gentle comfort, others like a mirror showing her where she had drifted, and some felt like a hand reaching into the darkness to pull her out. The Quran wasn't just words. It was a light piercing through the fog of her life. Sometimes, she would pause after a verse and just cry because it felt like Allah was talking to her, reminding her that she was never truly alone. Through Salah, she found refuge. Through Dua, she found release. Through the Quran, she found guidance and light. Together, they worked like medicine for her broken soul, soothing the wounds that the world had left, replacing anxiety with calm, and turning her pain into a pathway that led her closer to the one who had been waiting for her to return all along. When you find Allah, you find yourself. She spent years feeling lost, unsure of who she really was, trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. She wore different masks depending on who she was with, seeking validation from people who could never truly understand her heart. The more she chased the world's approval, the more she felt like a stranger to herself. There were nights she lay in bed wondering why life felt so empty even though, on the outside, it looked like she had everything. It wasn't that she didn't exist. It was that she didn't know who she was anymore. Her heart was buried under the weight of expectations, disappointments, and the noise of the world. The moment she turned back to Allah, something profound began to happen. In remembering Him, in whispering His name, in placing her forehead on the ground in sujood, she felt a connection that awakened parts of her soul she thought were gone forever. Slowly, she began to recognize herself, not the version of herself that the world wanted, but the version that was created by Allah with purpose and value. She realized that her worth was never tied to the opinions of people, to how many friends she had, to what she owned, or to how the world saw her. Her worth was in the fact that she was a servant of Allah, loved and sustained by Him every single moment. Finding Allah gave her clarity that the world could never give. Suddenly, the things that once consumed her felt small. The opinions that used to crush her lost their power. The mistakes of the past that haunted her no longer defined her, because she understood that Allah's mercy was greater than all of it. In connecting to Him, she found courage she didn't know she had, because she knew that as long as Allah was with her, she could face anything life placed in her path. That realization brought a sense of freedom she had never experienced before, a freedom from the endless chase for acceptance, a freedom from the fear of being alone, a freedom from the prison of living only for this world. She started to see her life with new eyes. The simple moments felt richer, the challenges felt lighter, and her heart felt anchored in a way it never had before. She understood that the reason she had so lost for so long was because she had been searching for herself in the wrong places. She was looking for herself in people, in achievements, in temporary distractions, when all along, her true self was waiting to be discovered in the presence of Allah. And as she deepened her connection with Him, her heart softened, her mind cleared, and she finally recognized the person she was always meant to be, the one who walks this world with peace inside, because she knows where she belongs and who she belongs to.